the city of Pittsburgh here. We got a lot of great sports to talk about. It's a beautiful day in Pittsburgh. Thanks for watching our show. We're getting more coverage with people and everything. And at Pittsburgh Sports Line at Sips Bar, I got to give a shout out to one of my old-time buddies from the Pittsburgh Press and Post-Gazette. George Malherbe showed up, enjoyed the show. Chief was there, our biggest fan in Pittsburgh since my other biggest fans in New Jersey. And Gene Malherbe was there, a couple of my Pittsburgh Press and Post-Gazette guys. They love this Chip Hainer and Smokin' Jim Frazier. They said they could hear Smokin' Jim all the way out in the street, so we're going to have to check on that. And thanks to the cameramen, we got Frank, we got Devin in the control room. Matt's in there helping out. So without you guys, we couldn't do the show, and I appreciate it. We always start with what's on our mind, and we lost our guy that we don't know what's in his mind for today. Big Mike Butera, he had some business engagement, said he couldn't make it. He's tending to some business, so we'll see him next time. But Smokin' Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al. And Big Mike, have one for me. Hey, what's on my mind is, it's Black History Month.
Is it?
The one thing that I don't like is reverse discrimination. And I've been taking a lot of heat on the internet all day long because I said that, in my opinion, Kevin Green was better than Lawrence Taylor. And I said that Kevin Green, Clay Matthews Sr., and Mike Vrabel is not getting into the Hall of Fame because they're white ball players. Kevin Green has 160 career sacks. Lawrence Taylor only has 132 career sacks. Kevin Green did it on the left side. He's the only left outside linebacker in the top 75 in NFL history in career sacks. That's the hardest place to get a sack. The guy should be in the Hall of Fame. There's no excuse for it. Clay Matthews Sr. is an outstanding linebacker, one of the top 5 outside linebackers of all time. He's a guy that mentored Bill Cowher when Bill Cowher played. He should be in the Hall of Fame. And Mike Vrabel, where's the Rooney Rule when Mike Vrabel was here with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Mike Vrabel was drafted in '97. He went on to be released by the Steelers and had a Hall of Fame type career at the New England Patriots. Today, I talked to Mike Vrabel on the phone to see if he would admit to some reverse discrimination, but he was too classy of a guy. He said that the Steelers released him because they had just read up Greg Lloyd, and he really didn't have a position for the Steelers. They didn't know if they wanted him a defensive end or outside linebacker, so the best thing for him was when he got picked up by the New England Patriots. Very well said, Mike Vrabel. I'm still going to send you a few players. Mike Vrabel is now a defensive coach at the Ohio State University, so I'm looking forward to developing quite a great friendship with Mike Vrabel, and that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smokin' Jim. Always appreciate your insights. Now, Chip Hainer, what's on your mind?
Well, thank you, Alan. What's on my mind? Usually we carry a bunch of levity when we're here. We like to look at the lighter side of sports and like to make light of things. But another one of our local police officers was hurt in the line of duty, and he was shot Sunday morning over in Baldwin. His officer Ralph Miller. And he's in a fight right now. He's in the hospital. Everything's kind of touch and go right now, and he's in the best hands possible. But our thoughts and our prayers go out to him and his family. This weekend, as a matter of fact, on the 4 intersections on Route 51 that go through Baldwin, over by Baldwin High School, the police will be taking up collections to help out with the family and to help out with the medical costs and everything. And I implore everybody, take the time to show your appreciation for the people that make this a safer world for us to live in, and and let's not forget everything they put at risk every day.
Thanks,
but that's first thing on my mind. Second thing on my mind is it's my favorite time of the year. Spring is
What time
here.
is it?
It is first day of spring training today, and what's on my mind is baseball. And I pay tribute to my beloved Pirates by representing with the 71 World Championship colors here. And I'm just really looking forward to this season. Last year ended on such a sour note, and everybody, for various reasons, are upset in one way or the other. But the one thing that I've always liked about baseball my entire life is that baseball, springtime every year, it's like the world gets reborn, and it's the beginning of a new season, and there is hope. Okay, because you want to believe that your team is going to have a chance to make it, and whether they do or whether they don't, that's going to be played out over the next 9 months, and there's going to be some ups and there's going to be some downs. The one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be positive about the Pirates all year long. I firmly believe that the streak is going to end this year, and I'm even going to go out far enough out on a limb to say that the Pirates are going to make the playoffs this year. It's kind of a bold statement, but you know what? I'm going to be there to enjoy the ride every step of the way. So that's what's on my mind, Howard.
Not a surprise, Chip. I appreciate it. I am a Pirates fan, as everybody knows, but I'll make that bet with you before the season starts, because I want to see that longest losing streak in North American history in sports broken. So, but what's on my mind is I was leaving the house today, and just caught, I guess, ESPN, and I see a pitcher signed for $175 million.
Wow.
Felix Hernandez with Seattle. And I'm thinking one of my favorite pitchers, Verlander, he doesn't even make $25 million a year. And here's this guy. How bad can baseball be if Seattle's paying $175 million for a pitcher and he only plays every fifth day? To me, that's unbelievable. And it just shocks me with some of the values. Sure, it's entertainment, but then you have a price tag on these players that $25 million a year to throw a baseball. Raise your kids to throw left-handed. You'll make that money, and they don't have to work that hard. We were talking about that the other day. So that's what's on my mind, guys. Baseball and the money.
And that's and I'd like to make a comment to your
Let's
point.
revisit. We'll go to our newest, best revisit. What's on our minds?
But the thing with once again, here's another team that is skewing everybody's thoughts about how they best manage your team. You're going to throw $175 million at a pitcher. Now all of a sudden they say, well, now they're hedging on paying him the $175 because they've done an MRI of his elbow and they're showing some wear and tear in his elbow.
What a
and
surprise.
So they lock him up for this long-term contract. They're going to mortgage the health and well-being of the franchise moving forward. It isn't always the best idea to throw this kind of money at people, and especially at pitchers. I think pitchers, they ought to pay him sign the 1-year contracts, and that way, if the guy blows out his arm, you're not on the hook for him for 5 years at $18 or $19 million a year.
We got to make you the baseball commissioner because you're making some sense to me.
Well, and people have made that comment about the Pirates is that that we're not going and throwing $150 or $175 million at players, and there are no guarantees that the $175 million that they're going to get a return on it. There's as good a chance that they're going to lose it as they're going to gain anything out of it. And I think really the teams like the Oakland A's, the Baltimore Orioles, Kansas City Royals, the Pirates, teams, the Brewers not so much because they've invested pretty heavily in the payroll, but they got to build their teams a certain way. And in the way that these teams are building them, and they're having competitive teams because, the Orioles, the A's, they both made the playoffs last year, and they don't have significantly different payrolls than what the Pirates are having. So throw in huge money, I think that's, it's a foolish policy to follow. The Yankees and the Red Sox, they're the only two teams that I know that have the wherewithal to
they bring the revenue in.
To get into a match like that. But you look at what the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim have done over the last couple of years and how much money they've spent. Look at how much money that the Dodgers have out on the line. And if you look at all these people that they have locked into long-term contracts with huge dollar figures, there's some very questionable people that the Dodgers may be paying well into the next decade, long after they've stopped playing baseball. So, we'll see how these two teams turn out this year, the two West Coast teams, see where they come and what their investments did for them. But
no, good points, Chip. I have a point with Smoking Jim Frazier. I don't know so much about the reverse discrimination, but that's his opinion, and we're all entitled to that. there is a lot of prejudice out there, but Mike Vrabel was one of my favorite players
Yes,
here
sir. Yes, sir.
because he was a hard-nosed, big kid. He could hit. He was knocking people out. They just didn't know where to put him. And it's like, how can you waste a talent like that on a team? You want those super athletes, and I just knew he was one of those ones that would do well. And it's just great to hear what you said, you know, what a class guy he is, because we hear so much in sports today, you know, how people are, and he sounds like a super guy too.
Well, you know, when I talk about reverse discrimination, you know, people think I joke when I say that it's a shame that there is zero white cornerbacks in the National Football League. I think that is a travesty. I think that there is a stereotype in sports where white guys can only play certain positions, black guys can only play certain positions, and that's not right. There's great athletes all over the place that are white that could playing cornerback. There's Hall of Famers that are white cornerbacks. Now all of a sudden they can't play. Now Mike Vrabel, not only was he outstanding for Ohio State, not only did he make the all Millennium team for Ohio State, when he came here, he was the heir apparent to be the next Kevin Green, that left outside linebacker, and the Pittsburgh Steelers totally dropped the ball. I'm happy for him going to New England. This is how great an athlete Mike Vrabel is. He caught touchdown passes many times, about 10 or 11 touchdown passes for the New England Patriots. He played every linebacker position for New England. He played some defensive line position. He could have went back and played safety. But when his time comes, and like I told him today, I says, Mike, I'm going to revisit you because it's going to be a long time if you ever make the Hall of Fame and you have 3 Super Bowl rings, because he was such a great player and he was such an unselfish player that he doesn't have the numbers. Unlike Kevin Green, who has great numbers, and everybody talks about, well, he's only a sack guy. Well, that's all Lawrence Taylor really was. But Kevin Green was not only just a sack guy. As Bo Jackson, who had to go against him in practice at Auburn, this was an All-American defensive end at Auburn. And he, other than Reggie White, those are the only 2 that had the hump move. So Kevin Green was one of the strongest guys to ever play linebacker, and he was a great run stopper. Now, so.
Well, you know, and to kind of speak to your point, you know, you look at, you know, there were some absolute Hall of Fame cornerbacks that played. That, you know, there's one that's a fine example, who's the defensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah,
he never made the Hall of Fame as a cornerback, and he has he's in the top 5 in interceptions per career.
62
you know,
career interceptions.
and I mean, he gets to the Hall of Fame based on what he's done as a defensive coordinator, but his actions on the field warranted every bit of that. But, you know, I mean, you know, prejudices exist in our world, and then some people try to make like they don't, and whether they're one way or another, there's a time they just got to be put to rest. You know, I mean, just evaluate people on their qualities, not on their race.
And sacks in the NFL is like slam dunk in the NBA. And like I was telling people all day, if Kevin Green was black, he'd be the Michael Jordan of the National Football.
Well, you know, and another thing about Kevin Green is that, you know what, you never hear Kevin Green talking about how great he is.
Right.
You've never heard him interviewed. And he was the linebackers coach for the Packers when they won the Super Bowl. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's still there.
You know, so he's had a worldwide forum where if he wanted to get out there and toot his horn and, you know, and be selfish, but it's not the kind of player he was, and that's not the kind of person that he is. And
that's
that speaks
my job.
to something. Yeah. Hey, you know what?
Sign me up with that PR.
That's why we do what we do. Huh?
Is that a paying gig out there, or you just promote it? No, that's good stuff. Well, I'm going to slip a little section in here that we were going to Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac, but we had a great time at Sip Sports Bar last night. They treat you nice. Just a great atmosphere up there. We're trying to get more people to come up because people remember how it was in the past. Well, now it's all remodeled. It has great flat screens. It has great food. Whoa, there's some house favorites. The Sips Burger. You can build a half-pound burger with whatever topping you want, and blue cheese is the only extra thing that'll cost you some money. So build a burger at Sips.
The food is first rate.
How much can you build a burger for?
$8.99, and it comes with fries. And you know the fries are good. We've had some of the fries.
Yep.
And then they have Sips Giant Fish. This is a house favorite. I haven't tried it yet, but it's tempting here. It's a big, large fish on an Italian baguette, coleslaw, your choice of tartar cocktail sauce. Come on, I'm getting hungry now, and I ate dinner a little while ago.
And Al's leading us into it's Ash Wednesdays tomorrow.
Bingo.
Rent's coming up.
Bingo.
There's where you go to get your fish sandwich.
This is what I'm talking about, the last thing on here. And it's easy to find. 3024, 3024. Go to Sips Bar. You'll see us Monday night there at 7:30. We may even put you on the air if you have a question or two. Getting to that point, I met a gentleman, John Galeza, from Farmers Insurance, who we're talking about some other business. You know, I work for Building Bridges for Business and do some charitable stuff. Well, here we're talking sports. And I said, I have a sports talk show with great hosts. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. Chip Hayner, I don't know what nickname to put on him because he covers so much stuff. When he's a prophet, he's the prophet. But we'll go with other. And then Smoking Jim Frazier's. So here, John come to our show last night, so shout out to John Galeza if you watch this show on YouTube or wherever you can get a hold of it. We're on Verizon everywhere. Comcast 7 only in Bethel Park, I found out. And YouTube, except for Smoking Jim. Today he couldn't see anything on YouTube that I sent him. But anyhow, we had a great time. John was great. We're going to have him back. Maybe even on this show one time before he does the fantasy baseball draft.
Yeah.
So this is a coming attraction. I just emailed him back and forth, guys. He said, Chip's a great baseball man. I don't want to pump Chip's ego up anymore. Stephanie, I know it's an anniversary coming up. But
we had a chance to talk some Pirates baseball last night. Very knowledgeable gentleman, and we had some great conversations on the air and off the air. And,
well, especially before off the air, because I couldn't get you guys to the show.
I'll tell you what. I enjoy talking baseball. A friend of the show, Claudio.
Yeah.
He's the head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon.
We're going to get him to come on down.
I enjoy talking baseball with baseball people. Baseball's a passion of mine.
Well, that's what you can find out, folks. Come to Sips Sports Bar. We'll see you next Monday and each Monday out there, so come on down. Now, we get into some of my favorite little segments here. This one is Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. Take it away, Smoking Jim. Come on.
This is a special one for Chip and Al Levine, the talking machine. Going back to 2003, April 2003, the Steeler draft. After I got fired in 2000 for not shutting up about Pittsburgh Steelers drafting defensive bum tackle from Duke, Chris Combs. So they fired me in 2000, brought me back in 2003. The big thing in 2003 was they liked Troy Polamalu, didn't think they could get up to get him. They wanted Alonzo Jackson, and I said he'd be the next Huey Richardson, so I was almost fired before it even started there.
Did you get the steak dinner?
I was tearing that steak up. All
Okay,
black
just
folks,
checking.
man.
Just checking. Yeah, I heard rumors before. Thanks. I don't want to interrupt you on this. You're on a
Cracking
roll.
ribs the whole way too. And they wanted Larry Johnson and Dokes, a strong safety from Ohio State. So they was able to move up and get Troy Polamalu in the first round, but they had to give up their third-round pick. In the second round, they drafted Alonzo Jackson. Again, almost got fired because I wouldn't shut up about what a bum he was going to be, and it turned out to be correct. So they didn't have a third-round pick. So in the fourth round, they're sitting around and they needed a cornerback, but there was no cornerbacks on their board available that could play in the National Football League. So I said, well, my number one cornerback is still on the board as I was cutting at Delmonico. And I said, he's 6'1", 190 pounds, runs a 4.2 40, got a 43-inch vertical jump, and they thought I was crazy. I says, he used to play for Southwest Louisiana, which is now Louisiana Lafayette, Ivan Taylor. And they says, there's no such kid. So they called the coaches, and they says, yeah, we got a guy. He's right here. He's a freak of nature, and he didn't even get invited to the combine. So Steelers end up drafting him. And at that time, we now in the war room, we turn on ESPN and NFL Network, but then there was no NFL Network. So we turn up ESPN when we make the pick. Mel Kiper and them didn't even have anything on this kid. Wow. Nobody had nothing on this kid. So down the hall during the radio show in the Steeler offices on the south side was the Myron Cope. Nice. And Myron Cope, of course, had no information on him, so they called me down, and I actually had an interview with the living legend Myron
No
Cope. It was
way.
a great interview, and we talked about the guy at that time, Ivan Taylor, who turned out to be Ike Taylor once he got to the Steelers. So that's my Myron Cope story.
That's an amazing story, Jim. And all Ike Taylor did from the time he was drafted was start at quarterback for the Steelers, and he has behaved so well over such a long period of time. You really didn't realize how well he played until he broke his leg, and he was out, and it was like, wow, what a big difference. But,
And that's our fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. Stay tuned for that. If you miss anything, don't miss that. And then one of my other favorite sections and times is Chip's Trivia Time. So here you go, folks. I don't know what he'll come up with, but he comes up with great stuff. And it's not useless.
Yeah, well, it is.
He always tells us that.
One of the things that I always preface this with is I am the world's foremost authority of useless information. But just on that note, being that the pitchers and the catchers reported today, they were out there throwing on the mound, doing some bunting drills and everything. The last two Pirate World Championships were won against the same team. And we know what the name of that team was. The Baltimore Orioles. We beat them in 1979. We beat them in 1971.
That's so far back, I almost forgot. Chip.
The Pirates have the 6 different Pirates have been named MVP. Can you name 4 of them?
Roberto Clemente?
Now I'm going to say
Dick Rote?
5 of the 6 have played from 1960 to today.
Dick Rote?
Dick Rote is 1. Roberto Clemente is the 2nd.
Willie Stargell.
That's number 3.
Dave Parker?
Dave Parker won 1 as well. Wow. Barry Bonds won 1.
Okay.
And Paul Wainer was the only Pirate that won an MVP award
Big Poison.
prior to 1960. I said it was in 1927. That was the year of the Murderers Row Yankees lineup.
Wow.
Yeah, that
He
was
was
the
part of
only
the
other
big-
Pirate.
Marcus Wagner never won?
Never won a league MVP.
What?
Okay.
Sean, we're going to investigate.
Okay, you do that.
I'm going to check this trivia out.
Okay, you check me out because I check my sources. And who was the most?
Manny Sanguin!
No.
Who was the most recent Pirate to have his uniform number retired?
Whoa.
Bill Mazeroski?
Close, but not.
Roberto Clemente with
Pops.
everybody.
Willie Stargell,
Willie
number 8.
Wow.
He was the last
What
Pirate
year?
to have his number
What year?
retired. I'm pretty sure that they probably retired his number
Before his
when he
statue.
passed.
Yeah.
Because he passed just as PNC Park was
Wow.
opening up.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
And
No, that was Jackie Robinson. That number was retired around.
which is something that I've never.
thought it was
I
Roberto.
understand what Jackie Robinson's contributions
It
were
is
to the
Black
game of
History
baseball. Okay, but
Chip,
my
this is
memory
good
serves
stuff.
me correctly. He played for the Brooklyn Dodgers, not the Pirates. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Okay. But the one last little piece of trivia I got on the Pirates is who was the last Pirate to win the home run championship and the RBI championship in the same season?
Willie Stargell.
Correct. Do you know the year?
No, but he kept hitting those seats, and they kept marking the seats
no,
up.
they-
Let me check my bucket of chicken.
No, Willie Stargell led the league in home runs and in RBIs in 1973. He was the last Pirate to do both in the same season.
Chicken on the hill with Will.
There was a lot of chicken on the hill back
There
then.
we go. We had a little bit of Pirates
That was
trivia
good.
this
Hey,
week. you know?
Enjoyed that.
That was a great
Last year's
pirate,
Super Bowl, see?
Yeah, I
great
like
pirate trivia time. I liked it. I enjoyed that.
There'll be more Pirate trivia to come as the year goes on. I'll be digging out some gems.
Well, we may hit the Pirates before we end this little session of this show, just so we
No,
might touch on it again.
I'm sure of it.
Okay.
I'm sure
that.
of it.
Skip and Chip put some numbers to me yesterday that I didn't realize. And with the Steelers attendance, you're looking at a little over 500,000, 650,000. With the Pirates, over 2 million.
Right.
Go see it. That's a big difference.
Yeah,
Well,
Jim and I were talking.
It's a numbers game.
After the show.
You got 81 games here, okay? They have What, 14, 16?
The Pirates, the Steelers
I'm
have
just
10
telling you
home
math, my
games.
friend.
The Steelers have 10 home games. They average about 65,000.
Not a
Look at
problem.
the Penguins, but I mean, the Pirates bring more people to the turnstile. Sure, they play more games, but I mean.
Well, they still eat, and then there's certain people like Smoking Jim and guys, they pay that $35 all you can eat, and they're out in the outfield eating everything. So I think they were even eating their cups last year. I don't know, but we can't wait to go with Chip this year. We're trying to work them for some tickets, folks.
I can't wait.
We'll get there with them. We're persistent, me and Smoking Jim. Don't you worry.
That will happen. We'll make it happen this year. All right. Sportsline will take a little road trip.
There you go. At the stadium. Maybe we'll get Nutting to sponsor us.
Maybe we can do a remote.
We'll try that.
That'd be nice.
We'll be the first fourth row out of the stadium.
We'll bring our own cameras in and everything else. Well, we have to get approval here at BPTV, and I want to thank Dave Cable for having his volunteers travel as far as downtown Dormont for us, too. So we do appreciate that. And now I want to go to a segment, boxing. And I'm also producing a boxing show on BPTV. Dave Cable gave me permission again to help the community here, and I got to give a shout out to Erin Ward for filming this event. She just did a fantastic job. We had China, I don't know her real name, but that's Smoking Jim's friend. She announced when I finally heard it, because I was there, I was in attendance. I actually was helping Erin. Well, not really. With some wires and putting them underneath tape and mats and keeping people safe. But Smoking Jim and China, and even with India giving a little back up there, very little, but she's learning the ropes. Their interviews were so great. And Smoking Jim, you must listen to this. Look for Ironman Boxing on BPTV. It's running maybe 4 times, and we're even running some of our shows 4 and 8 different times during the week. So you can see this stuff. And the boxing is just fantastic. The call, I didn't even tell Chip what it is. And it's a tease, folks. I'm learning how TV operates. Watch the show. Smoking Jim gives one of the greatest calls in boxing history to the newest NABA champion, Rod Salka. Lightning Rod Salka. So congratulations to you, Rod. We got it up and out in the community. It's getting blasted out everywhere. So glad you're out there. Nice to meet a new champion from Elizabeth, Pennsylvania.
Where?
Elizabeth. And it's not a girl neighborhood. This guy's a champion.
It's not the big one, Elizabeth.
And on that happy note, I'm going to go to our resident boxing expert and give us some insights there on some of the boxing that I saw. It was just fantastic. I know you didn't see it yet, but you called it and witnessed it.
Well, thanks again, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And I tell you what, we're real excited here in Bethel Park with BPTV. I'm teaming up with Al Levine, the Talking Machine, and Dan Cable, and we're going to really take boxing to a whole nother level. Me and Al's putting some things together. It's just so exciting just to be there. And like I said, to get a guy in like Lightning Rod Salka, he's just a good guy. He was a former state wrestling champion, 3-time Golden Glove state champion, a military veteran, a union worker presently, a college graduate, a married guy, and he's just a team player.
And he has great parents.
Well, I didn't get a chance to meet his parents or his sister.
Oh my goodness! You know me, I was working the crowd, Smoking Jim.
But the boxing community is great. There's so many boxing fans here and around southwestern Pennsylvania, and they'll be able to see a lot of boxing here on BPTV. Thanks to the producer of the year, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. And one last thing that's a little bit different from away from boxing. Bethel Park High School is doing an excellent job in basketball this year. So get out and see Bethel Park play basketball. They're one of the better teams in the area.
You're jumping one of the things. I don't even tell you guys what our system is except for the first 5 because I mix it up a little bit. That's what actually Smoking Jim, that Chip was actually pointing at it. So you must be reading our minds. I know we're pretty simple down at this end, but you just hit it. You nailed it.
Think alike.
We've been drinking the same Kool-Aid on Pittsburgh Sports Line, folks. So
Sipping it at Sips.
sipping at Sips. See there Monday night, 7:30. Just ask Tracy at the bar. She'll pour a nice drink for you there. No problem. And Chip, I'm going to lead into the basketball because Smoking Jim already got us in the door there with Bethel Park.
Little shout out to a couple of the local teams. Looks like we've got a couple of teams that are going to be making it to the NCAA tournament. The Pitt Panthers have turned their season around. They seem to be gelling at the right time. They've got 6 games left. And last night, Marquette got beaten by pretty handily by Georgetown. Okay,
Wow.
So we've got Marquette coming up on Saturday. We're going to play on their floor. We lost to them the first time we played them. Marquette has historically given Pitt fits. This would be a real good measuring stick to see if the defensive system that Jamie Dixon has put in place is going to stand up to this kind of going into a hostile environment, because
Well, he has 10 players that he plays, so that's unusual in itself. And it seems to wear down these clubs. If they can keep making foul shots at the end, just to interject here, that'll help.
Well, that'll help. And then I think one of the things that's best helping Pitt right now is the defense that they're playing. And I think that the thing that makes them a little skeptical for me going into either the Big East tournament or the NCAA tournament is they miss too many foul shots. In a lot of these tournament games, they get down into a foul shooting contest at the end. If they can avoid getting into something like that and then can still play their press defense, they're going to be fine. That's the thing that gets me. But I've got something else that's on my mind. I'm reading the newspaper this morning, and yesterday was the end of the regular season for high school basketball. So now we're getting ready to start the WPIAL playoffs. All right. Now there's a team that was a 3A team last year that moved up. It defeated all of its opponents. In AAA, it moved up to Quad A, Newcastle. Okay, team is 21-0. All right, number 1 ranked team in the WPIAL. They've beaten every one of the top 5 teams in the WPIAL so far this year. Done a great job. I'm looking at the state rankings for the top 10 basketball teams in the Quad A. Newcastle's ranked either 3rd or 4th. They are undefeated.
Really?
There is a team that's got 3 losses that's ranked higher than them, and a team that's got 2 losses that's ranked number 1. What are they using as a measuring stick to rank these teams? I'm going to make a prediction right now. I like Newcastle to win the state championship in high school basketball. They've dominated everybody they played this year. The other night they played somebody, and it was not a conference game, but they beat them by 4 points. But I mean, they've been beating everybody pretty handily, and they've got a heck of a system in place.
Yeah, Newcastle's loaded, and I didn't see the state rankings, but the one thing to look at, Chester won the last 2 out of 3 years, and when you get to that level, those guys can play a national. They take on national. They go to national tournaments. So that may have been some of the losses. Some of the teams in Philadelphia. They'll play. It's almost like when LeBron James played in high school. His team used to travel around and play some of the better teams all over the country. So that's maybe the reason why. But I'm with you. I would love to see Newcastle and Chester get together, and Newcastle can do what Gateway should have done at Chester the last couple of years.
Did
when
you
the state
mention Gateway?
championship. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an exception.
Gateway
Okay.
to back.
Okay.
WPIAL Quad A representative.
Who was coaching back then?
Mitch Adams.
Okay. Just thought I'd check with you.
He's still the coach.
But to give
Okay.
a shout out to the other local college team that's doing very well is the Robert Morris Colonials.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what? We got to call Marty Galosi to come on this show.
Yeah,
we do.
I'll tell you
Seriously,
what,
because he was telling us about it, and he has some hockey coming up
Maybe
too.
getting
Well,
that
we got the
Sips.
Frozen Four coming up here in April, okay, which is the NCAA's version of the Final Four. And the Robert Morris hockey team, they played RIT, which to me, I wanted to find out what the RIT meant, and it's
Yeah, what does it?
Rochester Institute of Technology. They played a home-and-home series against them. They split the games last weekend. They have 3 more home-and-home series to wrap up the season, and it looks like the Robert Morris Colonials are going to end up in the top 8, which will put them into the playoffs and give them a chance at the tour. But the basketball team, I think they're ranked second in their division. And
Didn't they
and
just
they're
win
playing
an
solid.
overtime game?
They're a very solid team this
And
year.
I just got it's not a tweet because I'm not a tweet guy, but I got something on Facebook, a message from Marty because I guess I'm on his list, that if the first 200 people at the game would get Chick-fil-A sandwiches. So I was ready to go out. I was going to call you guys. Let's go out and see a game.
Yeah.
And we're early. Well, not smoking Jim, folks, but that's another problem. I'd sneak an extra sandwich for him. But I was thinking of it, Chip. I wanted to call you guys
You know what?
the other
Yeah,
night.
to do that,
Well,
so-
the next time that happens, I'll let you guys know
Yeah,
ahead
let me
of
know if I'm
time if you're in the
available.
neighborhood.
If I'm available, I'd love to go out because I tell you what, going out. One of the things that I did this past fall, and my wife and I started going to some of the high school playoff football games, and just the whole environment around there, and you watching these kids playing, and they're playing for the love of the game, and there's not not as badly behaved as they get to be as they get into college and become more privileged and they get into the pros.
The
But
prima donna.
for the love of the sport itself and the competition, I'm telling you what, man, you get your money's worth when you go to these high school games. You got the basketball playoffs are going on now. You've got the high school football playoffs. This next fall, we're going to take every weekend. We're going to go to a different high school game. We're going to pick the best game of the week.
Hey, Chip, I
And,
wish you could have met my dad. My dad, and I want to shout out to
Tiptoe.
his buddy, my dad, Saul Levine, known as Tiptoe. He would go to games by himself because sometimes I'd go with him or I'd be working. I couldn't. He would just go by himself, and I'd have 3 or 4 friends call me. They go, hey, we were sitting with your dad. And then there'd be other people like his best friend, Pat Carmack, former basketball coach at Langley High School.
Really?
He would hang around with him, and they'd go to the games. So these
Carmack
guys...
Black?
No.
Okay.
No, Pat Carmack.
Okay.
Yeah, good guy. We'll have to get him to come visit. Maybe he can come down to Sips. But these guys would go to high school games, just like you're talking about, and then they'd have me come along, and it was just a great atmosphere to go to the games. Because I, would go when my kids were here at Bethel Park and watch games. But when you go to other places like you're saying, and you don't really have a dog in the game or whatever,
No,
you're just out there to enjoy the sport.
I tell you what, we sat and watched Woodland Hills play Upper St. Clair in the Whitfield playoffs, and I want to tell you what, I enjoyed it. I had more fun watching the Woodland Hills fans root for their team than almost watching the game itself. It was quite an enjoyable evening.
Well, the one thing we last week we honored 5 players from Woodland Hills High School, and 4 of them got full athletic scholarships to KLU. And one of the kids that are going to KLU is playing in the Big 33 game. But I agree with you guys 100%. And you and Stephanie and your wife don't have to wait until next fall. I tell you what, down the Palumbo Center in Duquesne, in a few weeks, they host the WPIL championships for all classifications. One price, girls and boys. They alternate games. One game will be boys, next game will be girls. And I tell you what, it's an exciting atmosphere. And you guys are so right. I tell you what, most people don't know that I'm a writer, and I'm a sports editor of the Pittsburgh Courier. And when they brought me in, they thought they'd bring me in to cover the professional sports. And I opted to cover high school sports and junior high sports for a couple of reasons. One is because you already have other newspapers covering the professional teams, and we're only a once-a-week newspaper. And when you write an article on high school kids or junior high kids, now you up your circulation's availability because the moms, the cousins, the high school kids, the junior high kids.
You take any
everybody
pictures
will
with
get
those stories? You have any pictures? I've seen them.
Yeah, thanks.
No, he's a Golden
But,
Quill award-winning writer,
Thank
so
you.
he talks about not reading books or whatever. Who cares? He could write a book. It doesn't matter. I've read his articles and his insights.
I appreciate
And
that.
I put the good word out for you each time, and I'm glad you brought that up. People don't realize some of the stuff we do in the community here. And it's all
But
good
one thing
stuff.
that we're going to do in the community that I'm really excited about, and I tell you what, I got about 100 people coming in, so beef up the police force. It's going to be Friday, March 8th, when we announce the Pittsburgh
Who's
Steelers
that we?
basketball game. So,
Who's that we?
Al Levine, the talking machine.
Nice.
If you want the green, get with Levine.
Hey, you know what? We're not going to spend much time on this subject, but I just have to bring this
Go
up.
ahead. You can freelance a little bit. We're missing Big Mike,
Yeah,
so we would scatter all over. Oh, no offense. Let's move on.
But hey, we don't talk about the Olympics very often, even when the Olympics are happening. But a sport that has been in the Olympics since the invention of the Olympics is wrestling. Okay, and I'm not talking professional wrestling, jumping up the top rope and giving an atomic elbow to somebody. I'm talking about the true sport of wrestling. They're going to not make that an Olympic sport in 2020. Now, I just maybe it's me, it could be, but I just don't see rhythmic gymnastics as being an adequate replacement for that, or rhythmic dancing, or what about lawn darts? I mean, how do you take something like that that's basic to the core,
crazy.
As far as one-on-one competition goes? I mean, you've got boxing and wrestling. That's true, mano a mano. I mean that.
Good point.
Well, you know what? We'll have to start that movement here and start a petition so we can get the Olympics to keep wrestling, Chip. And you're the guy. We can do something here right on public access TV.
We can move mountains, right?
We'll move those mountains. One more thing on basketball is that Steve Adams from New Zealand, it looks like he's starting to improve a little bit and start to be a little more offensive and shoot the ball, and even made a few foul shots.
And you want to know what? You know what's evidence of the fact that he's improving? That Ron Cook is now talking about him in the mornings about how he could possibly go to the NBA next year. The guy's a freshman, and other than the fact that he's 7 foot tall and coordinated, okay, I mean, this is a kid that I think would really benefit from spending another couple of years in college, getting his education, working on beefing himself up, because I'm telling you what, this young man, somebody could probably throw a couple of $1 million at him this year. He could probably go in the first round of the draft. He's going to get eaten alive in the pros because he's going to be a boy playing against men. But he needs to put some weight on.
He comes from a large family, like
they're all
18,
tall. Yeah, they're all
18
tall.
brothers and sisters.
Yeah, but I mean, when everybody in the NBA is still looking you in the eye and got 50 or 60 pounds on you,
right?
It's a little bit different.
And he can and I'm a firm believer. Get that degree. He can
like you smoking, Jim. So I understand. You're a leader.
He could get that same degree that Pat Ewing got from Georgetown.
Was that basket weaving too?
Honorary?
Can I give out a quick shout out
Yes.
since we're talking about Georgetown and
Yes.
Maryland? Everybody knows that I feel like Ray Lewis is the greatest football player of all time, and the Baltimore area confirmed that they're erecting a statue in his honor. So congratulations to Ray Lewis. I don't think Baltimore went far enough. I think they ought to change the name of the city to Lewistown, Maryland.
No. I can't even believe he said that. Why not call it Raysville? Raysville, come on, and you'll be healed. Come to Raysville.
Okay.
I'll help promote him.
Hallelujah.
He may wear that white suit.
I've been saved.
Oh my goodness! If he wears those deer antlers anymore, I quit. I got some pictures there from that. They look real, so I don't even want to go there.
My goodness.
Well,
Oh my goodness.
I said we'd revisit some revisitation of the Pirates here.
All right.
And, I'm getting some of that pirate Kool-Aid, and it sounds
I'm-
great,
and I'm
but I'm not ready to jump on the bandwagon yet.
And I'm swirling that Kool-Aid in a 55-gallon drum, and I'm swinging it up a little bit so Alec can swallow it. But I'm telling you what, the Pirates, they made a bunch of moves in the offseason. We all know what the problems the Pirates had last year. You had a catcher, Rod Barajas. Like I said last night, couldn't throw out my grandmother. You had a hitting coach that didn't do a very good job at coaching his hitters. Okay, so he's gone. They replaced him with Jay Bell, somebody from the glory days of the late '80s, early '90s. He was doing a very good job in the same position for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Came back to Pittsburgh, and he wanted to come back to Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, a fan favorite, Joe Hanrahan, got traded to the Red Sox. And, as much as, some of us have, were torn by should Joe Hanrahan go, should Joe Hanrahan stay, ultimately it was in the best interest of the organization to get the best value for him that they could, because they were only going to get him for the rest of this year anyhow. He was going to get paid in arbitration, and then somebody was going to offer him more money than the Pirates going to offer him next year. So you may as well get something out of him. And a couple of the people that they picked up, one of there's a kid named Sands, who was very good prospect in the minor leagues. He hasn't panned out yet. Still could be a potentially good ball player. The Pirates picked him up. There's another kid the Pirates stole off of the Kansas City Royals roster. And the Royals are another team that are in the process of rebuilding their minor league system. But, they've got some depth at first base. And there's this kid named Jonathan Sanchez, who's coming up into the to spring training this year.
What's his last name?
Sanchez.
Another.
But here's somebody that I want you to keep an eye on, because he may not end up starting this year, but very likely within the next 6
Another
months to a
Sanchez?
year, he could end up being the first baseman for the Pirates. Garrett Jones had the kind of year that we needed him to have last year, and last year has to be like the minimum for him. It can't be, his career.
It's
year.
the standard now that we say
Well,
in Pittsburgh.
and we raised the bar a little bit. I mean, after being 16 games over 500 last year, the bar's pretty high this year. And the players have got to take some accountability and stand up and do what they need to do. The manager puts in the lineup. He'll make calls on whether to pull a pitcher, whether to do pitch or run, hit and run or whatever. But ultimately, the players on the field have got to be held accountable, and there's got to be some leaders on the team. I think Neil Walker is a great example for the infield, and I think Andrew McCutchen needs to step up and be more of a leader, of the outfield, because now he's the experienced veteran in the outfield. You've got Starling Marte, who's still just a babe, who's got a lot to learn. Maybe Andrew should take him under his wing and teach him about being a major league outfitter and how to hit the pitching. Travis Snyder was somebody that we picked up at the trading deadline last year from Toronto.
Right.
And he's somebody that shows a lot of promise. So the
nice
Pirates
potential.
are taking some risks on some players that they don't have a lot invested in financially. So you know what? If these pan out, great. Steelers, got the deal of the century. And if they don't pan out, we're not paying them for the next 25 years. So, so there's some thought that's gone into what they're doing. And the Pirates are bringing 31 pitchers into training camp this year.
Can we name them all? Or
Hey, we don't have time for that.
Sanchez, that gets 3.
All right, 28 more. I got A.J. Burnett.
I'm not greedy. All I want is 82 games. I think we ought to throw a parade, the whole bit. I just want 82 games, and I think it ought to be a celebration, something like the
When they get the
Baltimore Ravens.
82nd
Something
game,
like
just
Baltimore
have-
Ravens
and
did.
I absolutely agree with
Baltimore
Jim.
Ravens.
Here's what the thing is with me. My celebration's going to start on April 1st. Okay.
April Fool's Day.
That is the day of the home opener. Okay?
How apropos.
How apropos! What a way to end the streak on an April Fool's Day. Because everybody that says that I'm an idiot for backing the Pirates, well, I am. Okay, but I'm going to back them, and me and about 2 million of my friends are going to go see a lot of good baseball this year, and we're going to have one heck of a good
Hold
time.
on, wait. It's not really 2 million, folks. Let's do the math. 38,000 if they sold out times 81 games. You're talking 2.4 million roughly. So you might have 37,899.
You know what? There's going to be a
Friends.
great place to go this year, and I tell you, I really think the Pirates are on the verge of doing something. They replaced the big problem they had at catcher. They brought in a kid from New York, and they probably overpaid him. Okay, but they've got him for 2 years. Here's a kid that's thrown out 24% of the guys trying to steal
Tell
against
us his
him.
name.
Russell Martin.
Okay,
And
thanks.
last year his power numbers and his batting average weren't as good as they'd been in the past. But they say what the Yankees really liked about him was the way he handled the pitching staff. And that's what you've got to have. You know, you got to have somebody that's going to take control of the pitching staff, that's going to know the hitters, that's going to know the pitchers, and you know,
and hit the baseball once in a while, because he does have some home runs and some power and some RBIs. So you need that, so you're not just splitting it up. Hopefully the Ford will come through. Yeah. McHenry will come up, so you have some good backup there.
I think Michael McHenry does make a good backup catcher, and I think he can work well in tandem with somebody else. I mean, Michael McHenry, I mean, you gotta love the kid. He's a small man, but he plays with a big heart.
Right.
And you know, Pittsburghers are just going to pull for an athlete like that. You know, and another thing is, you know, you looked at the trials and tribulations of Pedro Alvarez, and I remember last year at this time, I was talking about this, and Alan and I had a little bit of a disagreement in opinion, because Alan felt at that time that Pedro Alvarez should have been sent back down to the minors. And my opinion at the time was, you know, I feel that Clint Hurdle should tell Pedro Alvarez, you're my third baseman, you're going to start, and you know what, you don't have the pressure of, oh my goodness, after every at-bat, am I going to get benched, you know? And finally, he got it together. Now, what I would like to see Pedro Alvarez do, you know, at one point his average was in the 100s. You know, and I talked about this during the year. I said, you know, he's a home run hitter, but, you know, maybe he's only going to be a 230, 240 hitter. But, you know, if he hits 35 or 40 home runs, then, you know, he's going to be with it. I think he can bat 250, 265, somewhere in that area. You look at what he did last year. He had 128 hits.
Yeah.
He struck out 180 times. If he can
lower
that, I mean, he's going to get better. You know, last year he got himself into so much funk so early, and this is where the hitting coach needs to work with him more one-on-one. He went into almost every at-bat 0-2. I mean, and he was swinging the pitches out of the strike zone, and then all of a sudden he's on his heel, and he's not being aggressive.
I hope you're right about him, and he learned something here by staying in the major leagues, because I thought it would make you hungrier so that he wouldn't have that same attitude. So you proved me wrong, you know, this past year because of his performance. You know, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was a great fit for what they needed.
Who's the last Pirate to get their jersey retired?
Willie Stargell.
MVP Pedro could be next. He could be joining Pops.
And I said this last year too. You know, like somebody like Pedro Alvarez really benefited from, you know, stubbing his toes at the major league level, because now, you know, he knows at what level he has to be able to perform consistently. Another kid that I think that we're going to have to live with him making a bunch of mistakes, and I'm sure he's going to make a bunch of base running errors, is Starling Marte. This is a kid that I don't think is going to get better playing in AAA, because in AAA he's better.
The best already.
He's the best on his team. You know, he needs to get up here and see, okay, well, being the best on a AAA team, and then being, you know, I'm only as good as an average everyday player up here in the majors, and you know, I think you'll get better development out of him quicker.
I'll agree with you here with keeping Starling Marte up here, because they like that partay out in the outfield there for him. So, and he has a lot of fans. He does show some hustle. He did sulk a little bit, but he'll learn. He's a young kid.
He's a young man.
And is Tabitha still here?
Tabitha's still here, and
he has a lot of potential.
Well, you know what? And he may potential his way right on out the door.
Well,
because,
I just hope he can run out the hits and maybe catch a few of those fly balls.
Jose Tabit is, you know,
he had the talent a couple years ago.
He had the talent, but you know what? It's
something happened.
You have the talent, but you know what? When all of a sudden you forget, you know, that hard work works hand in hand with talent. You can't have talent and not work hard and have your talent take over, because at the level he's playing at now, you know, Major League Baseball, everybody up there is, you know, is super talented.
I'm ready to get on that bandwagon, just so you know. I'm hanging right on there. I was on it last year for a while, and
I'm staying on it.
That's 16 games over. I was
putting new shocks.
I was ripping up my dollar bill for you, but no, I'm hopeful.
Put new shocks and tires on it. We're ready to go.
And
season.
We'll talk more Pirates, but I have this last section that we do, closing remarks, because we end up talking. Like last night, we talked for about 45 minutes after the show, and it's always great stuff. So I figure, why don't we just talk a little closing remarks? So we'll go with Smoking Jim Frazier. What's on your mind at the end of the show that you want to get out there that you don't want to keep inside anymore?
What's on my mind at the end of the show, of course, is, I tell you what, for all you college basketball teams out there, particularly University of Pittsburgh, Very good luck in March Madness. March Madness is coming up. I would employ, if I was you, just go to Stanford last year. Stanford last year had a pregame speech before the championship at the NIT by Ray Lewis, and they went out and won the NIT. So if you want to win the Big East tournament or you want to win March Madness, I tell you what, employ Ray Lewis to come in and motivate your team. It has a successful pattern already.
Well, he's a motivational type of guy.
Yes,
he does speaking and everything like that. I won't take that away from him. But I just hope he stops crying all the time, because that mascara running everywhere, it'll ruin that white suit. And please don't let him do another commercial for your championship series there, please. Okay, the few people that saw it, we'll move on with that. Sorry to interrupt, but Chip Hainer,
What's on my mind?
what's on your mind at the end here?
What's on my mind at the end? You know, yesterday they made a real big deal out of Sue Paterno being on Katie Couric and coming out to defend the memory of her beloved husband. And you know, and I applaud the fact that, you know, that she's standing up for the man that she loved and for the man that Joe Paterno really was. I mean, everything that people were saying about Joe Paterno, he was a good man, he was a kind man, he was concerned about children. All of these things are true about Joe Paterno. I mean, you know, he ran a first-class football program. You know, the unfortunate thing is, you know, that Jerry Sandusky, you know, polluted Penn State, Joe Paterno's memory, and everything. And even though Joe Paterno didn't really have, you know, didn't do anything on the lines of what Jerry Sandusky was, you know, in my mind's eye, the thing that tarnishes his reputation was his inaction. And, you know, as Jerry Sandusky used the Penn State campus as bait to bring his victims in. And if anybody could have stopped him from coming onto the campus, you know, I'm not saying that Jerry Sandusky wouldn't have done what he did. He would have just found another vehicle to abuse to get there, probably his charity or whatever. But, I mean, you know, the facts are what the facts are about this thing. It was a horrible situation all the way around, and I think it's in everybody's best interest now to do everything we can to try to help the victims heal. And I think the way we could do that is to just stop talking about this. And this is going to be the last time I mention this subject again, because it's over with, it's done, and it incites so many passions in so many different directions. And like I said, I'm not bad-mouthing Joe Paterno. I mean, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, you know, he even wished that he would have done more, you know, and his inaction, you know, allowed things to happen on the Penn State campus that, you know, we don't know if that would have happened somewhere else or not. But, you know, I just want to put that to rest for good.
Well, I'm glad you got that off of your chest and your mind here so we can put that to rest, but I doubt it. It's going to be one of the biggest scandals in U.S. history, and I've said that before. And with all the cover-ups, the Free Report, check out Louis Freeh. Go online, check out what he's done. Just remember what he's done in the past. You can't diminish what happened there. These victims, they're the ones that need to be able to heal. Whatever they settle up money-wise, it won't pay them enough. Imagine your own child. I mean, I have 2 children, you know, a boy and a girl. I can't even imagine what these kids and families have gone through. And, you know, it's just a terrible thing. And, you know, I know plenty of graduates from Penn State, even my daughter. So it's a tough situation. It is a good institution, but they have a lot of healing and a lot of things to help people with. The other thing that's on my mind at the end is we forgot to talk about Penguins. And the Penguins are 8-5. They're playing good hockey. They have 2 good goaltenders. Their defense is coming along. We're not mentioning any of that, Smokey Jim. We're keeping it light here at the end. And I just think don't give up on the Penguins yet. You know, we're a little disappointed with it, but they are 8-5. And they have a nice record. They will win the Stanley Cup. I'll keep saying it each week. That's the Kool-Aid I'm drinking there, Chip.
Okay, one last thing.
You can. Go ahead.
Before we get out of here, and I know we're going to get cut short soon.
Yes.
Once again, thoughts and prayers out to Officer Ralph Miller's family and to the Baldwin Police Department. You know, there's a lot of healing that's got to go on there. We're pulling for Officer Miller. You know, hope you get well soon. You know, our thoughts and prayers are with your family.
Definitely, and I'll be in contact with Officer Drew here with Bethel Park. We'll have flyers out for different fundraisers that they do have. You know, I promote it. Thanks, BPTV, everybody helping us, and have a nice night.